Welcome, everyone, to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Chrysan over here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood is where TK is he each and every twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. This week we'll have a program and change. We'll tell you about it a little bit later. But TK over at Tremonti's, where they're busy as always. I'm in an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Big day today, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. We're going to announce our 2025 class. We'll talk about that here in just a sec. Topics to get to presented by the LeBears Casino, our presenting sponsor. LeBears, you can go over there, of course, play some action on LSU minus 24. TK, what did that line start at?
It opened at 18 and a half and went as far as 25 and a half, and now it's been sitting at 24 for a couple of days now.
I mean, that is a huge swing in the matter of 3-4 days to go from 18 to 25 and a half. My goodness. LSU 24-point favorite, 2:30 game against UCLA. Remember, Sports Shorts Radio will be 12:30 to 2:30 this weekend. 12:30, we'll take you right up until kickoff because of the pregame show on 104.5. The LSU pregame show, we will be 12:30 to 2:30. So programming changed this week. Sports Shorts Radio lunchtime with Sports Shorts. We'll have a lunch review for you over at Walk-Ons and Bruley. But today we'll talk about Tennessee with a historic announcement yesterday. They came out and said that next season they are going up 10% on all of their expenses on tickets, and that is to directly pay NIL for players. We'll get into what that means, and that's just the beginning. Saints find themselves a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Eagles. I mean, that is wild. I remember when the Saints were a 4.5-point favorite against the Panthers the first game of the year, 4.5, depending on where you got it. And we were like, I know I said, Saints aren't going to be more than a field goal favorite the rest of the year at home. And, of course, I never dreamed they'd be favored against the Eagles, a Super Bowl contender in the NFC. And here they are, almost a field goal favorite against the Eagles, who did drop a close one on Monday Night Football. I don't know how they lost on Monday Night Football to the Falcons. So the Eagles come in 1-1, Saints 2.5-point favorite. That's the game of the week, because still people are like, wow, the Saints look like the best team in the NFL, Tommy, but they're still trying to figure out if the Saints are for real.
Well, they're averaging 45 points a game, and in the NFL, that's pretty sporty, okay? I don't care if you played Carolina. They also played Dallas, who's thought to be in the upper half, obviously, of the teams. And they're hitting on all cylinders right now. They've scored on 15 straight possessions. They either got a field goal or a touchdown. They might deactivate the punter this week. They don't need the guy. But, it's been a story that nobody saw coming. Like we talked about on Monday, the offensive line was supposed to be the big question mark for the Saints. They've done very well. In fact, their left guard, who's not one of the guys we talked about, had the highest grade by Pro Football of all offensive linemen in the league this past year. So that offensive line, past week, so that offensive line has really stepped up and made the difference in the passing game, the running game, and the overall confidence of the Saints, as opposed to LSU's offensive line that's still got some question marks. Hopefully they can resolve that Saturday. But the Saints have been something to see. There's no doubt about that.
What the Saints are doing right now is so incredible and here's the thing, everyone was wrong. Everyone was wrong. There's not an analyst out there that was like, you know what? I don't know what you guys are talking about with the Saints, over under being 7.5. Like, this is a damn good team. Don't be surprised if the Saints are competing to be in the Super Bowl. Like, there's not anyone outside that locker room or that front office that was drinking the punch on this team or felt like they knew something that we didn't. So because of that, even though they have looked as good as you could possibly look, in the history of the New Orleans Saints, there's only been one team, and that was the Super Bowl champs, that got off to a better start, points-wise, through the first two games back in 2009. And the only other team was the 71 or 72 Cowboys or something like that, who won the Super Bowl that year. So the Saints are in rarefied air with their start, with the point total through the first 2 weeks. But yet still, as good as they've looked, as much as I want to buy it, I'm still like, am I believing what I'm saying? Is this going to go on for the rest of the year? I mean, clearly not going to play at that high a level for the rest of the season, but like, is there like, how did we get this wrong? That's what I want to, how did this offensive line, where did the hell did this come from? I'm happy, but where did this come from? It's just, it's
Well,
one of the, it's like the,
lifelong lifelong Saints fans would be like, okay, the bubble's going to pop. Okay. Remember the night they were beating the Raiders 35-0 at half on Monday Night Football in the Dome and lost the game. Okay. That was in the early 80s, I want to say. But, everybody's saying, well, so, maybe the Eagles come in and beat them 40-10 this week. But I don't know. I mean, they are confident. I've said for 30 years, confidence is the most dangerous thing in sports. So they are confident. They're going to be in the Dome. And how loud will the Dome be this Sunday, huh? With the two wins. As you know, because you were there, and I had other people tell me, say that Cowboy AT&T Stadium, Jerry's World, was very loud, and it came from the Saints fans, and the Cowboy fans didn't have anything to cheer about. So, man, I think this Dome is going to be rocking, and if that can, send some vibes to the offense, the defense, and all that, maybe they. I don't know if they score 45 points against the Eagles, because the Eagles are pretty good defensively, but we thought the Cowboys were.
What a fun story. It is the shocking story of the month of September, and it will continue this Sunday, noon, against the Eagles. 2.5-point favorite are the Saints. Another line, of course, we mentioned LSU minus 24 against UCLA. UCLA is bad. And I think we all agree that the LSU should win this game. I mean, it's what, 1% of the time, maybe the 24-point, or less than 1% of the time, the 24-point favorites lose at home. But the question is just whether they will cover or not. But you were saying that Indiana, who blew out UCLA over in the Rose Bowl this past weekend, probably a little bit better than we thought. But UCLA with a coaching change, with a move to a different conference, with a broke university. I mean, it's well documented that UCLA financially is in shambles. It's just all a mess over there.
It really is. And, there's a long list of teams now that we've had several weeks of college football who are better than people thought. And then there's teams who are worse than people thought, like Florida State, perhaps. But, and Indiana's in that category of a little better. Now, can they win the Big Ten? Probably not. But they're better than they were. And they went on the road in the Rose Bowl, the famous Rose Bowl, and not only beat UCLA, but they beat them bad. Like the Saints did to the Cowboys, they did to UCLA. And UCLA, has never played football in Baton Rouge, so that's kind of a cool thing. But this is, the Nichols game was supposed to be named that score, and by the end it was. This game, supposed to be named that score. If you look at the point spread, now the Nichols spread was double that, but it's still, and they're a Big Ten team now. I mean, it's hard to put that in my mind and say, yeah, UCLA is from the Big Ten, but they are. That's the way the world is now. But I fully expect LSU to win the game, and hopefully the offensive line, hopefully they can run the ball. Maybe Caden Durham, who should be the guy now, even though Kelly wouldn't acknowledge that he was the guy, got to be the guy after what he did. And Derry Beckwith called that on the radio last Saturday. He said, hey, this guy's got 10-2 speed in the 100 meters. Need to get him on the field, make some stuff happen. So Derry called that, and Durham had a bang-up game, and hopefully he can do the same thing. And the line can, because if you can run it, you can pass it. We all know that.
Mike Novell, the coach at Florida State, after losses to Georgia Tech in Ireland, Boston College, and now Memphis, is 0-3. Said yesterday, we played three powerhouses. Mike,
don't pee in the cup, Mike. They'll get you.
I mean, I love that. I mean, Memphis has got to be like, thank you. Thank you for calling us a powerhouse. No one else has. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. Since when did we put Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Memphis in hey, we had the toughest schedule in the country so far.
Certainly not in football.
What a disaster.
Big story. Memphis, along with Tulane, being targeted by the Pac-12 as possible new members to the Pac-12. And there's a lot of reaction down in New Orleans about that, good and bad. I've seen both sides of the story, but It's kind of a Memphis Tulane thing. Don't be surprised if that happens.
I'd be shocked, especially those two make a lot of sense geographically. You get the markets of New Orleans, Memphis. And if you're Tulane and you're Memphis, like, don't you want to be in the Power Five? I mean, like,
Yes. Yeah.
missed your opportunity. This is it. Well, obviously they're going to do pen to paper and figure out all the travel expenses for all sports and all, and I'm sure it's going to be through the roof. But at the same time, what you're making now versus less travel versus what you can make then with more travel, how does it pan out? And then also, this may be your opportunity to jump into the big leagues, because don't we all feel that there's going to be a have and a have nots at some point very soon, that's going to be pretty much like the Power Five and then maybe nothing else. Like the Power Five may break off and go do their own thing, their own league, their own, and leave everyone else behind. So it's going to be, it's interesting days right now for what Tulane's going through. But Florida State, of course, 0-3. But over in Gainesville, there was reports that came out yesterday that Florida was making a move with Billy Napier, but that's sort of been walked back for the time being.
It's like it's in a holding pattern. It's like when you're on that flight and they say, "Hey, we got to circle the airport for a little while before we land the plane." Florida that's what they're doing. They just hadn't landed the plane yet, and I think it's inevitable unless they go on some huge win streak and knock off big time teams. But that's easier said than done. Yeah, I think it's inevitable, and Napier will walk out the door with a bunch of money like Ed Orgeron. Dude, there was one report that Orgeron was in Gainesville and trying to get the job. There's also a report that if they were to fire Napier, Urban Meyer would be the interim coach until they decided who they wanted for the long term. So, yeah, again, keep in mind, whoever's reporting that, you got to look at the source. If the AD or the president of the University of Florida says something, you can count on that a little more than something said on the internet somewhere.
I can't, in any way, shape, or form, in my mind, see a scenario where Urban Meyer is the interim coach. Urban Meyer is either going to be the next head coach at Florida or the next head coach at Notre Dame, or he's going to just stay doing what he's doing. I mean, he's going to be an interim anything. Now, Ed, wouldn't put it past him to go be an interim.
Well, I think he'd want to do it. Now, whether Florida wants him is another question.
A couple months, sure. Maybe him, but it's funny. All right. Today, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is going to announce our class of 2025. We're going to make that release and maybe in the next 30 to 90 minutes. To the public around the state of Louisiana. We'll announce 8 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame inductees today. These were, your Hall of Famers that range from coaches and administrators down to the athletes themselves and everywhere in between. This class is going to be another special class, reminder of how, because people ask all the time, how do you find these inductees? How do you select them? And the answer is that we have a meeting every August. We had over 150 people nominated. And when I say we had 150 people nominated, Tommy, I don't mean like you went online and in a goof nominated, Mike Tremonti, who is an all-district tight end in high school. We're not talking about something like that. We're talking about 150 people that have a legitimate, resume, have a legitimate, hey, let me consider this person. We do get those goofs, or we get people who think that their Uncle Bob should be considered for the Hall of Fame, and they don't, they kind of get, when it's obvious it's no chance, they don't even make it to the list. So when I say we have 150, it's 150, and then from there, our board, our Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Foundation board, our Louisiana Sports Writers Association, dozens and dozens of sports writers association members from across the state, and the Hall of Fame board all vote. They pick their 25 names, not in any particular order, just 25 names out of the 150 they vote for, and then which of that, the 50, 60 that have the most traction, that have the most, votes. I mean, you got to have at least 10 people out of the 100 plus that vote. They make it to a ballot. And then from there, there's a 40-person panel that gets in a room and selects. We had like 50 something names, and we go through those 50 something names in various different categories of sports and administrations and whatever. And then from there, we select the 8-person class. And that's what we're releasing today. And it's a arduous process. Matt Moscona, the 104.5, was a part of that 40-person panel this year for the first time ever. He was impressed with the process and and what goes into it and all the great names. Talked about it on his show, and I'm sure he'll talk about it more today when the class gets released. But anyway, that's something to look forward to. We'll talk plenty more about the class tomorrow. We'll be on tomorrow instead of on Friday, and we can get all into the names and all that tomorrow.
And don't forget to go to lasportshall.com. Currently got an online auction going on as well. So lots of reasons to go to lasportshall.com. You see it on your screen right now. A little bit later this morning, later today, tonight when you're tooling around on the internet, lasportshall.com. Get in the auction and learn about this class of 2025.
The big story in sports yesterday was that the University of Tennessee announced that they are going to do basically a 10% surcharge to all tickets in sports moving forward next year. And that money is going directly to NIL. I would be willing to bet that the 10% isn't just football, that it's 10% everything. But obviously, we're mainly talking about football. And this is just the start, Tommy. I mean, we've said it many times on the air that it's a whole new world and it's ever changing. Here you go. You got a school saying straight up, "Hey, we got it's a surcharge." It's just as if, hey, like back during COVID, there was a transportation surcharge on everything you ordered right online. Hey, we got a surcharge because prices are soaring right now. Well, that's what's happening right now. If you want tickets to the University of Tennessee, and oh, by the way, LSU's going to be next. Alabama's going to be next. I mean, you don't think Tennessee's just doing this by themselves. No, everyone's going to copy their model because at the end of the day, if you're a fan of Tennessee, are you not going to have your season tickets next year 10% more, knowing that, hey, this is what we got to do to be relevant on the football field? No, you're gonna pay the 10%.
Absolutely. Oklahoma State tried to put a QR code on the back of the helmets this year where you could be a fan and you could, make that a $10 donation to that player or more. And they got kicked out the way by the NCAA. But I mean, that's the way the world is now. All Major League Baseball playoff batting helmets are going to have an ad on the helmet this year, right? I mean, it's
In
a
the
big old
playoffs,
thing, almost in the playoffs. You're going to have it on the helmet. All right, back to the college football. Tennessee's doing that, and if you look at the SEC, the Big Ten, ACC, and the Big 12, other schools are going to copy that. I mean, it's a copycat thing. I mean, on the field is a copycat thing. Off the field is a copycat thing. They got to do it because, as you pointed out this summer, LSU or any of these schools who have X amount that they got to pay, that money's not sitting in the bank, being direct deposited every week. They're chasing that money with pledges and donations and people that pledge, $1,000 a month for the year, whatever it might be, and then trying to get new donations, new players to put in. Fortunately for big time schools, they got 20 to 40 guys in the NFL, and half of them are making enough money where they can, make a donation back to school if they choose to do it. And many do it and don't want the credit for it. And there's some that do it and get the credit. But it's all about the money. We've said this for 50 years. Follow the money. It's all about the money. In Tennessee to be relevant, well, guess what? Everybody else wants to be relevant. And nobody knows exactly where all this is going to go, but it'll all be about money.
Look, if you ever watched the Mexican Baseball League, Trevor Bauer, for example, is pitching down in Mexico, and there's a great picture on the internet of him. I mean, he's got logos all over his uniform. Which, by the way, don't think for a minute the Rougarou ain't going to be that way one day soon. We've already got 2 on the chest, more coming next year. But that said, that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed, not just in
Well,
college, right? That's where we're like now you've got Major League Baseball teams with a logo on the sleeve. Now you're talking about they're going to have company logos on their helmet for the postseason. Well, it's just going to be more and more and more and more logos as people look for revenue sources without simply passing it on to the price of the tickets.
Well, and there's logos in Major League Baseball between the plate and first base, between the plate and third base, in foul territory. And now you got college football stadiums are putting logos on the field as well, just because that is a stream of revenue. It's the old NASCAR thing. Ronnie 25 years ago said, "Oh, we don't want to be like NASCAR and have 1,200 stickers on the Chevy Impala." That's what they used to say. But now that's where it is. I mean, because as much money as the pro sports make, okay, especially from TV, they still got to do it. So college has to do it because they don't have the billions of dollars that say the NFL or NBA or MLB has. So I mean, it's a rat race, and it goes back to what's been said a lot in the last decade with all this new stuff. If you don't embrace it, you're going to get left out. If LSU doesn't all of a sudden have Baton Rouge Rougarou logo on the 20-yard line, sooner or later, they're not going to be able to have the money to get the players to win games. And I mean, it's still all about the players on the field. It's how you get them and how good are
they. Brandon Holly owns Relief Windows in Baton Rouge. Of course, Relief Windows all across the South. They're the best. He was telling me a story a few weeks ago about how he was approached by LSU Sports Properties to see if he was interested in putting his logo on the field in Tiger Stadium. So, your logo on one side of the field and your logo on the other side of the field in Tiger Stadium. Now, I'm sure you get more things with it, as far as on the screens and the billboard, but the main key piece is you get your logo on the field in Tiger Stadium for those, I guess, 7 home games. I'm trying to think.
6 or 7, yeah.
I'm trying to think 7 home games, 4 on the road. Yeah, 7 home games this year. What do you think that number is for that package? Now, keep in mind, right, it's not just the logo. I'm sure they're going to throw a bunch of other stuff in the package year round, but the key is you get your logos on the field in Tiger Stadium. No one's ever done that before. It would be the only logo on the field in Tiger Stadium.
Well, I'm going to make a pure guess here. $1 million or more. $5 million. $5 million.
Do you see any logos on the field?
No, not going to be at $5 million a pop. He's better off turf at Goldsby Field for 20% of that.
Yeah, if you ask someone $1 million,
you're serious? Wait, $5 million.
It was 4 or 5, Tommy. Yeah, he told me 4 or 5 was the package. Yeah, and his response was, "I appreciate you thinking I had that much money to spend on that, but I don't."
Wow. Well, which means one of two things: either somebody's going to pay 4 or 5 million, or they're going to bring the price down to 2. Then somebody's going to pay that. I mean, it's a business thing. I mean, it's just like if we want somebody to give us $500 a month to advertise on Sports Shorts Daily. If if in a month from now they say, "Hey, we'll give you $250," we'll consider it. But
so the thing that I'm curious about is, what do you think it's worth? And that's the thing, right? If you're a business that made sense. You're a company that it made sense to put that logo on the field. Let's say you're H&E Equipment, for example, and I use them because they're on the headsets, of the coach a lot of times on the sideline. If you're H&E Equipment and you want to have your logo on the field in Tiger Stadium, what is that worth? What does that make sense? Like, it's not about whether you can afford it or not. Obviously, if you're going to do that, you probably are an LSU fan. You're probably an LSU supporter. You're probably more than – it's not just a marketing advertising decision. It's a little bit with your heart as well, because there's no way to truly justify it. But and keep in mind the Nichols game, your logo's on the field, not as valuable as the Alabama game, right? I mean, you're talking about 2 different values. And there's no guarantee.
Well, that's why the ticket prices are different.
Right, and there's no guarantee that LSU Alabama is going to be a big game. If LSU loses another game, let's say LSU gets blown out by Ole Miss and Alabama loses the game between now and then, like, that game has less eyeball. That game is less important. That game's on an alternate channel. It might not be on the big channel. So, all of that matters. I mean, it's a gamble, but I'm just thinking, like, what do you think 7
Well,
home with the logos on the field for 80,000 bodies in the stands, and 80 to 90,000 actual bodies in the stands, plus whatever's watching on TV? What would you put it at? Did you think, okay, that's not crazy? And oh, by the way, I'm sure it's coming with tickets and all kinds of other things in the package, other billboards,
I,
announcements over the PA, things like that.
I'll go back to my original guess, $1 million. And again, I mean, we're all in the advertising world and have been for a lot of years. And there's always, where do you figure out what will the market bear? What's it worth? And I mean, the streaming stuff now, it's all different. And again, and I'm not trying to single out Brandon and Relief Windows, but as a business owner, you got to say, okay, can I spend half of that and get more bang for my money? Can I get a better pop if I go, if I put, billboards all over town like we had with the Rougarou last summer? Can I get more bang for my buck with that? Or can I, give Ronnie Ransom TK $1 million and go on Sports Shorts Daily? Can I get more? No, you're not going to get, ain't going to get it on Sports Shorts Daily. But, that's what you got to weigh out. And, unless what you said, and I used to always call it purple and gold money. When we back in the day on Pelican TV, we had people would buy ads on Tigers Raw and the post game show, really because they were trying to help us, and it was purple and gold money. They wanted to be associated with LSU. They couldn't afford what was on LSU sports property price tag. So, if you got the purple and gold money that says, well, yeah, we're going to give you $5 million, and we're going to put whatever logo on the 20-yard line on the east side, the 20-yard line on the west side, kind of stagger it. And then every highlight and every stream and every television thing, people are going to see it. The other thing, you say 80 or 90,000 bodies in the stadium, fourth quarter, there's going to be 60,000 in the stadium. And it's all about impressions. And that never has changed in advertising.
Well,
it's about impressions. How many eyeballs can see your ad? How many ears can hear your ad? That's what it's truly all about.
The other thing is that, especially if you're the first one to the dance, you're the first company to sponsor the field, you're getting a lot more articles written about you, conversations on the radio, us talking about it, people in the stands being like, hey, look, they got a company logo on the field. Like now, 10 years from now, when you're the fifth different company to be on the field or something, it may not be that. It won't be odd. We'll be used to it. Logos on helmets and things like that, we'll be used to it. But when you're the first one, you get the most bang for your buck because it's so odd and so out there that it takes your attention, even more.
You're right. And it would be talked about a ton by everybody, from us to print media to internet to social media, television to linear TV. We'll talk about it the whole bit. So, but again, that's for a business owner to decide if it's worth it to them. It's not for you and I to decide.
I'm curious to see who's going to go first and what that number is. It's going to happen one day. All right, Tommy, tell us about Tremonti's, and I know we'll be on tomorrow instead of Friday.
Well, today is the hamburger special. $6.99 gets you a burger and fries. You can eat it here. You can take it to go. Order 10 of them for the office. Come get them. Bring them back. It's been very popular each and every Wednesday. The special for burger and fries at $6.99. That's every Wednesday here at Tremonti's. Don't forget, we will be back here tomorrow for another edition of Sports Shorts Daily. Tremonti's meat and seafood, everything for your tailgating food and drink, catering, wine, liquor, much more. Check it all out. We'll be back we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to move it from Friday to Thursday this week. Don't forget to like and share this show. That helps everybody involved. And one more quick reminder, Sports Shorts Radio this Saturday slides on the clock due to the LSU kickoff. Will be 12:30 to 2:30 from the Walk-Ons in Brewley. You're welcome to come on out and join us. Walk-Ons in Brewley this Saturday, 12:30 to 2:30, and you can listen on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. On behalf of Mike and everybody here at Tremonti's, on behalf of Ronnie Ransom, I'm Tommy Christ saying, have a great day, everyone.